Good afternoon. It's about 53, but it's not cool enough for the pea coat I'm wearing. So I'll just be warm and comfy today. It's a little overcast, but I don't think there's going to be any rain. There are a whole bunch of stories, of course, but the ones that caught my eye have to do with, I guess, religious intolerance and ignorance of healthcare. That's a little too broad, but it's close. There's a GOP candidate for Attorney General in Maryland. His name is Peroutka. And he, last evening at a gathering, led the people in a chant that it was God's law that mattered, that it was God's law that was responsible for our government, and that civil law was to protect God's law. Now, some people refer to the Declaration of Independence because it does mention God, but when we made our final contract, our Constitution, we said, "We the people." It is a civil law, and it is independent and separate from religion. And that declaration is in the First Amendment to the Constitution, that we will not establish a religion. So if this brilliant wannabe Attorney General understood the law, he would understand that what he was saying was in contravention of the Constitution that binds governors as much as it binds our federal government. And that should he have such policies, should he be elected, that he would be in violation of the Constitution. Now, this is a manifestation of catch me if you can. This is what I want it to be. This will work at the ballot box. I actually believe this maybe, but I'm too stupid to care what the real law says. And so I'm going to mislead all these people and create dissension and conflict, because many of these people would like that, not knowing the law the way I do, as I misrepresent it to them, so that they will follow me and not my opponent. Well, the good news is in the polls, it looks like he's going to lose badly. The other case, which is about health, as we know, Fetterman had a stroke. And the question is, has this impaired him in any way to run for office or to be elected? And the answer appears to be no. Now, Fetterman has been attacked by his opponent, and no less than Biden is going to go and campaign on his behalf in Pittsburgh. Now let's look at the objective questions here. There are reports of physicians who know about having a stroke, and they say he speaks and turns in either direction without obvious impairment. His hands move freely, both left and right. He seems to have no trouble thinking. He has one residual problem, which is occasionally the words line up, and he mispronounces or misstates them. Now, my mother at 50 had a stroke. That was pretty serious, and she couldn't talk. But she put a pad around her neck and wrote notes. And I told her I think it would be better when she could talk again. Only because I hoped she would return, and I thought that would bring up her Irish and encourage her to get better. And she did. She regained her voice, and there was no indication that she had any trouble after that. But she was very upset because her left arm wasn't operating the way she wanted it to, and it lagged, and it was a continuous annoyance to her. And when she had her final attack, when she was 60, she died. But I learned something about strokes from that, and I have a client whose mother is in the hospital, has had many strokes that have affected her cognitive function in the front of her brain. But the doctors say none of this extreme stuff is happening for Fetterman, and that this problem that he has does occur, and very likely it will moderate and go away, but he may have it the rest of his life. It may be an impediment he has to deal with. So who among us is without some health challenge? And what person, and maybe especially a doctor, Oz is his name, would go about suggesting, knowing the science, that Fetterman is perhaps, not suited or up to or able or capable of serving in office. Of course, our campaigns have become pretty dirty, but there are two instances here, one about the law, one about health, in which the candidate is disserving the population by saying things that are wrong. In the one case, that God's law is protected by civil law, in the sense that it is the only law that matters. And I've run across this in the past when I was a prosecutor, that one of the defenses was that their law was paramount to American law. And over time we overcame that because, well, that just wasn't the law. But he says it nonetheless. And then we have a doctor saying that his opponent, there's really something wrong with him, which appears to be, as a matter of fact, entirely untrue. And that's the beginning of our problem now years ago, that we lost the ability to tell the truth when it matters the most, on things that matter the most. In the last several days, somebody asked me if I would play a part in a play they want to put on. And I was interested, but it wouldn't be fair to know that I could run the lines and be off the book in time to do it. But it's very interesting to me because it's about an essayist who thinks he can write nonfiction but massage the facts in the course of his nonfiction essay about somebody committing suicide or the various other subjects that he has written about. And I thought it'd be interesting to play that part because, and this is a real man, by the way, a real self-declared essayist who is a very fine writer. But he believes that he can play with numbers and dates and things like that in what he writes, and that's not a problem. So I think, to be fair, he should always let us into the fact that the essay that he's writing is really fictional nonfiction. That some aspect of it just isn't true. It's sort of like when movies say this is based on a true story, but we modified it so much. There's absolutely no way you can compare the two. A step up from this essayist, who in his life probably does no damage to anyone except those who really want to be told what the truth is in a story, because you said it was nonfiction. But we have politicians who are not writing essays and not looking to have some performance art, but hope to intend to deceive the public, not so they have an enjoyable literary experience that is not itself nonfiction, but to put them in power and in office and to change our government as it is, and how we treat others in public debate, and how we mislead the public as to, even what it means to have a stroke. So I persist in the view that women are going to lead us to the promised land. They are the ones who are going to lead the vote across the nation because of jokers like Alito, who probably agree with that character in Maryland who wants to be Attorney General, like Kavanaugh, like Barrett, like Gorsuch, probably like Roberts, like Thomas for certain. And that is the fight. That is the catalyst for us winning important elections. Now, am I too hopeful that we're going to open our doors on Election Day, if we haven't already sent in a vote, and come out and vote in record numbers? Is that an impossible dream? Well, Kansas had a turnout in an election off year that defied turnout in other elections, and the issue was about Roe v. Wade, about the dignity of women, the notion that they have a right of independence, of domicile over their own body, and that they got the last and final word on that, and that they should have it as a right, not as a legislative award, because a true right allows the individual to assert that right against everyone else. I'm expecting that the women will bring men with them, that those who spend a moment seeing what it means for the Republicans to win it at any cost, and they're indifferent to that because their objective is to crash the system that we have and to choose an autocracy and then regret at their leisure as they find out what they really got despite what they think they wanted. So here I am in the Cathedral of Trees, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye-bye.